Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Educator Evening. It's me, Heather from Children's Book World. I am here, but at a very safe distance from Lisa and Sally. I have them all the way at the other end of the store since I am unmasked talking to you all. But I'm excited that you can join us. I'm sorry it can't be in person, but we have so many good books to tell you about that we were not going to wait until we can meet again face to face. And we're going to show you our favorite picks from picture books, beginning readers, chapter books, graphic novels, nonfiction. Please know there's a comment section. And while one of us is talking here, everybody else is eager to comment. So please, questions, ask away. Also, the link that we sent you, which was for the books that you can purchase, that has pictures of the books, descriptions of the books, the authors, which everybody always asks. So all of that information is there for you to refer to right after, you hear us talking about everything. So I'm going to get started with some of my favorite books. So, and say hi in the chat to us because we miss you guys. Speak up, Molly Lou Mellon. We have a new Molly Lou Mellon, finally, and we're very excited. This time it's not Molly Lou Mellon's grandmother, but it is her mom who has many, many words of advice, such as be true to yourself and take responsibility for the things you do, good or bad. And after we learn all of Molly Lou Mellon's mom's words of wisdom, there's, of course, the little story where Molly Lou gets to put all of those wonderful things in action. And it is just as delightful as the first Molly Lou Mellon. The next book I have is Benny's True Colors. So this is the story about a bat. His name is Benny, only he doesn't feel like a bat. He feels more like a butterfly. And he says, yes, on the outside, Benny looks like a bat, but on the inside, Benny knows he really is a butterfly. And he loves being a butterfly, and he wants to be a butterfly. And he talks to all the butterflies. He says to them, I want my outsides to match my insides. And the butterflies say something very wise, actually. They say that it doesn't really matter if your outsides match how you feel, but Benny insists that he wants to look like a butterfly. So his lovely friends, the silkworms, help him by cocooning him and taking care of him. And he sleeps there for a while, and when he wakes up, their magic has worked, and he has been able to transform himself into a butterfly of sorts. And he is very happy. And the other thing that I love throughout this book is that his mom, through the whole way, says, I love you, Benny, no matter who you are, what you look like, how you act. You are my Benny. And it's just a very nice story. And that is Benny's True Colors. And the last picture book that I'm going to talk about, I'm seeing all my friends. Hi, Tanya. Hi, Chris. Robo Baby by David Wiesner. So this is David Wiesner's newest book. It came out in the fall, and it is about a family of robots who get a new robot baby in the family, and they have to assemble the baby. And as we all know, kids are a little bit better at assembling things than grown-ups. And unfortunately, grown-ups sometimes tend not to listen. So there are many malfunctions as poor Kath, who is the young robot in the family, keeps trying to get the grown-ups to follow the instructions. And she says, in my favorite line ever, because my kids always say this to me, you have to install the updates. And tell me you haven't heard that like a zillion times. But of course, in the end, she does save the day, and she is able to put her new baby brother robot together. And it is really just a delightful story. And David Wiesner is just a master. And you will just, A, I want to wear this color palette. So let's just talk about that first. And B, you will just read this over and over and see something new every single time. I want to talk very quickly about a couple of new beginning readers that have come out. Our friend Hedgehog is kind of a cross between a super long chapter book, picture book, and a beginning reader. It reminds me a bit of a Winnie the Pooh, but for younger kids to read by themselves. But it would still make a delightful read aloud. And it's basically about our friend the Hedgehog, who has a best friend, Muddy, his stuffed animal. And one day a breeze carries Muddy away. And our poor hedgehog is so sad. And he goes on a journey to find his beloved stuffed animal. And every chapter starts with the name of the animal he meets on his journey. And he meets all of these animals who, of course, by the end, become his friend. And of course, a spoiler alert, he does get a stuffed animal back in the end. This is a series that we sort of recently discovered. It's called Game Day. This one is Slapshot. These are beginning reader books that are based they're nonfiction. I mean, they're a bit of a story, but mostly they talk about each of the different sports. They give you information about the game. They take you through an entire hockey game. I love the part that they even show you how, like, the announcer in the booth works at a hockey game. And at the end, they give you like 10 fast facts about hockey. So we have hockey, we have soccer, there's basketball, there's baseball, but they're great beginning readers, particularly for those kids who like nonfiction, who like facts, but there's still a little bit of a story in there. Libby Loves Science is super fun. It's a story about Libby who loves baking, and it's all about how mixing and measuring and science all go hand in hand. So we love this new series. I Will Race You Through This book is sort of your Elephant and Piggy style, where you are talking, or I should say the narrator is talking to you. And in this case, it's a rabbit who is going to race you to the end of the book by how quickly you can read. Only, of course, this rabbit, he wants you to do things like close your eyes, because if you close your eyes, what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, he's going to try to sneak across the page. So he's not the most trustworthy rabbit, but he is super fun. He tells you to do things like wait and count to 3, and then he goes on 2. So it's a really fun, silly book for beginning readers, like the Elephant and Piggy series. For your readers who are a step up, this is a new series I love called The Magnificent Makers. And this is all about 3 friends who basically go through a magic portal, and they end up in a makerspace maze. So it's like if you imagine an escape room, but the way that you escape is by doing different sort of makerspace type activities. And the cool thing is, at the back of the book, they do have the actual instructions for all of the different things that they created to get from room to room. Each book is also based on sort of a different STEM activity, and this one is making ecosystems. So throughout the whole book, it talks about that. But that is a super fun book that's new out for kids. And She Persisted is a new series. If you remember, Chelsea Clinton did a book, She Persisted, 13 Women. And this now has been taken from the from the picture book to become a chapter book. So each of the 13 women who there was a page of in the original picture book now has their own chapter book. And the level is about a really good 2nd grade level. I feel like could definitely be read to a 1st grader. 3rd and 4th graders will enjoy it because they are all written by phenomenal authors. I mean, this is Andrea Davis Pinkney, so you kind of don't get better than that. The nice thing also is at the back of each of the books, there is a section called How You Can Persist. And it gives you about 5 different activities that you can do, such as in this one, this is Harriet Tubman. The first activity is help a lost person find their way. So there's lots of great things that you can do to be a persister. We have started a She Persist book club. One is coming out a month for the next year with a bonus 13th one in December. We've had a lot of kids sign up. We send them one each month. Some teachers have asked if we could do the same for them. And we said, of course. Some have even asked if we could do it in hardback. And we said, sure, because we know you probably want it for your library. So if you're interested, shoot us an email. Let us know if you want to be a persister and be part of the She Persisted Club. So that is it for me. So I am going to mask up and move to the back of the store. And here comes Sally.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sally Drucker, and I'm really excited to be here and share. I just wanted to let you know that every year that I work here, I become better at being a bookseller and thinking of books as a bookseller, but I can't help but look at books as an educator. So I try to put that spin on the books that I like. I'm going to jump in where Heather left off at the beginning readers, because there's just a few more you might want to know about. This one is called Interrupting Cow. There is a picture book that it's based on. It's Interrupting Cow and the Chicken Crossing the Road. So it's basically about bad jokes, because Interrupting Cow does knock, knock, and then as you say, who, he says moo and interrupts you. And of course, the chicken crosses the road is another joke. And they kind of help each other learn that a joke can be funny a couple times, but maybe we need to move on from there. But it's a great beginning reader, nice level, great story. We've got Otter, What Pet is Best, a little bit lower reading level, but really cute, trying to decide what pet he should get, and he gets some help from his caregiver to decide what pet he should like. What About Worms is an Elephant and Piggy spinoff, and it is about a tiger who is worrying about worms, and he's afraid of worms, and the worms are afraid of tigers, and they kind of work it out through the book. It looks very much like an Elephant and Piggy inside, very captivating and fun and silly and great for kids. Diary of a Pug. Now, the educator in me loves this because this could be a spinoff for some writing. This could be, okay, you want the children in your class to start writing about what goes on in a day. So you can see this looks like a journal, and it's got a table of contents, which all beginning readers love because it's a chapter book. So here it is, it's Dear Diary, and he writes, Baron Von Bubbles here, but everyone calls me Bub. Here are some things to know about me. Great way to get some beginning writers to write. And it just talks about his life and his little girl who takes care of him. Of all these books, I was most captivated by this new series. It's called Trouble at Table 5. The reason I like it so much is it's like a cheerleader in the background for your beginning readers. Here's what the level looks like. So it's what the writing is like. So at the end of the first chapter, there's a little message. And at the bottom of the page is a graph. And each time you finish a chapter, they color in one more box. And this one says, 1 chapter down, off to a great start. And this happens every chapter. At the very end of the book, congratulations. I can't figure out how to do this camera. Congratulations. It says you've read 12 chapters, 85 pages, and 5,777 words. Perfect. You're great. You achieved everything. And I love this series for that reason. Okay. Have some books. The first one is probably my favorite one of this season. It's called Outside, Inside, and it is about the pandemic. And it is about how one day it was a regular day. And just before the season changed, everybody who was outside went inside. And the book goes on to using that outside-inside comparison. And they're saying everyone, everywhere, all over the world. And it just talks about what happened outside, what happened inside, what did we do inside, what was going on outside, and why did we do it? So it says, why did we all go inside? Well, there were lots of reasons, but mostly because everyone knew it was the right thing to do. And the point of this book is, on the outside, we're all different, but on the inside, we're all the same. Some people needed to be outside for their jobs. Some people needed to stay inside to be safe. We took care of each other by staying inside, while the people who had to go outside went outside. I have a friend who's a guidance counselor in a local school. She's going to be using this at a morning meeting when it's time for the children to be thinking about coming back. Some of the children have been virtual, kind of helping them to get ready to come back outside. So I think it's a beautiful book. I'm sure you know there's a new political pack in the White House. It is the new dog pack. Champ and Major are the first dogs. So Champ has been there before because he was there when Joe Biden was vice president. But now he's going to teach Major what he needs to know about being in the White House and helping his owner get his job done, because he has a really important job. I love this because I could see some great writing coming from this. I could see a class writing letters to Champ and Major. I could see children in a class creating some adventures for Champ and Major. What kind of trouble could they get into, or what exciting things could they do? What kind of exciting people can they meet? Maybe learning about what goes on in the White House. Great jump off point. Okay, playing possum. This is one of our favorites at the store. If you know about possums, you know that when they're afraid, they play dead. And our friend, the possum, gets nervous when he's meeting somebody new, and so he plays dead. And one day, he bumps into an armadillo. But when armadillos get scared, they roll up into a ball. So here's what their first meeting looked like. Not really a lot of conversation going on. Anyway, they both kind of sit up, look at each other and say, oh, we have something in common here. And they become friends, and they begin to see that animals all over have ways to cope when they're feeling afraid, and they help to make everybody happy and feel accepted and wonderful. I love this for a classroom because the author includes a note about truth and imagination, saying the truth is animals do have ways to cope with fear, but animals don't really dress up in people clothes and talk to each other. And then the next page starts a glossary of different animals and how they do, what their behaviors are, and how they handle different situations. Great book, highly recommend it. And another beautiful book, Eyes That Kiss in the Corners. So this is a book about a little girl who goes to school, and she realizes her eyes look different from most of the other children's eyes. Some of the other children have blue eyes, and some of the other children have very round eyes. And she looks in the mirror and she sees that her eyes are different. She has eyes that kiss in the corners. And she starts to look around her family, and she realizes that her eyes are just like her mom's. They're just like her sisters. They're just like her grandmother's. And she realizes that they're beautiful. And she says, my eyes that kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea are a revolution. And she realizes that they're beautiful in their own way, just like her family's eyes. Okay. I have action picture books that I think could be really used well in school. This one is called My Bed. The illustrations are all fabric. Photographs of fabric, but they're beautiful. And the book rhymes. So it could be a great book to just read through for the rhyming, but then there's more information on each page. So it says, my bed rocks on the water. My bed sways in the breeze. My bed's beneath a curtain. My bed's aloft in the trees. And after each one of those is information on where that bed would be and what what country, and what kind of child would be sleeping in that bed. But all the beds are great to sleep in and they fit them perfectly. Kind of on the same theme, same, different. So they're two little boys from different countries, different parts of the world, and they start to write to each other. They say, oh, this is what my house looks like. And then the other one says, hey, same, but different. I have a house, but this is what my street looks like, full different. Oh yeah, and I have a brother. Oh, same, different. Or here's what my alphabet looks like. Oh, I have an alphabet, but it's really different. But yet they become friends. So I love the angle on that one. Okay, this is our favorite day of the year. This is a book for younger children, I would say, and it's a kindergarten teacher saying that the first day of school is her favorite day because she gets to learn all about the children. There's one little boy in the class who says, it is not my favorite day because I don't know anybody and everybody looks different. And I don't have any friends in here. So the teacher starts something where they each talk about their favorite day of the year. And what happens is one little boy talks about Eid and he shares with the class how his family celebrates that holiday. Each child in the class tells about their own holiday. There's Rosh Hashanah, and there's Christmas in Mexico. And I think my favorite one is Pi Day. This is a family, it's not religious, but they're mathematicians, and they celebrate Pi Day because that number's so important, and they bake pies. So it turns out that all the children in the class learn about each other, and at the end of the year, the teacher gives them a little calendar so that they can always remember what they learned about each other's favorite day of the year. What do you do if you work at the zoo? And this is a great book. I know so many children who love animals, and when they grow up, they're going to be a veterinarian or they're going to take care of animals in some way. So this is by Steve Jenkins, who writes fabulous nonfiction books. And these are all the things you might do if you work at a zoo. You might rub an aardvark's ears or shine a tortoise's shell. I love the illustrations. So this one is, you might pick up a python, and it shows how they weigh a python, all those different people holding the python and getting weighed. Great book with also more information in the back. So lots of terrific books, picture books, easy readers. Thank you. And here comes Lisa.
Hi everyone, my name's Lisa and I've been the book fair coordinator here at Children's Book World, and I'm going to talk about some books that were pretty successful in our book fair this year. The first book I want to mention is Perfect Pigeons. This is about a perfectly happy group of all the same pigeons that think that's the perfect way to be, except for there's one unique person, oops, I can't do that backwards, in their flock. And he likes to wear cowboy boots, and he likes to pretend he's a superhero when he's flying, and he annoys all the rest of the pigeons until he can get them to loosen up a little bit and teach them that they can all be perfectly unique and still be the perfect flock. You all remember Jabari Jumps, in which he conquered the high diving board, and he's back in a new book called Jabari Tries. And in this one, he wants to build a flying machine to fly across his yard. And he doesn't want help from his father. He doesn't want help from his younger sister. He wants to do it all himself. And he starts out and he's not very successful, but he thinks about past inventors and thinks about solutions to problems, which is pretty neat that he does that. And he tries again and it fails. And his dad wants his younger sister to help him, and he grudgingly lets her. And then he just gets really, really frustrated because he cannot make his invention work. And I like this part in which his father talks to him and says, "Hey," said his dad, "I see you're really upset." "I'm frustrated," said Jabari. "It looks like a frustrating problem," said his dad. "When I'm frustrated, I gather up all my patience, take a deep breath, and blow away all the mixed feelings inside." "And then you try again," Jabari said. and then I try again. And with a little bit more patience and some tweaking and help from his father and his sister, he manages to get his machine to fly across the yard. I think that these books are great because they're not preachy, but they have a good lesson. Through perseverance and flexibility, an inventive thought can become a brilliant reality. This is probably my favorite book of the past season, The Attack of the Underwear Dragon. And you know, what could be better than knights, dragons, and underwear? And in this one, there's a young boy who wants to be an apprentice to a knight. So he writes a note to Sir Percival, his favorite knight of the Round Table. And Sir Percival has a tear because he remembers doing that to Sir Lancelot. So he takes the boy on, and the boy trains to be a knight. And Sir Percival is the bravest of all, except for one thing. He is deathly afraid of the fearsome underwear dragon, who ends up coming to attack the kingdom. All the knights are down except for the boy who's the last knight standing, who uses his wherewithal and his training and his wits to fight the underwear dragon, pull his underpants off, and save the day. So this is definitely a great read aloud. Kids are going to love this one. You can tell just by the title. One that I really liked is called Wild Symphony by Dan Brown. Yes, that Dan Brown, the Da Vinci Code guy. He apparently his parents were music teachers, and he finds a lot of solace in music. And he wrote this book, Wild Symphony, in which you get a bunch of different animals, and they each have a poem, and it each shows like a different strength of the animal. And what I like about it is, well, first of all, you can also, there's a QR code on the front page that you can scan that'll help you get a free app. So you can have music playing throughout the book that goes with each poem. And then there's one about a bouncing kangaroo, and at the end it says, I wish I bounced like you. I want to be a kangaroo. And then it says, it's great to admire the skills of others, but don't forget that you have special talents too. So they're what Dan Brown calls secrets on each page, sort of a moral that are little life lessons for students. And it's just a really fun book, but there's a lot more hidden inside it. Plus, there's a little bee on each page that the kids can find. And I think this would make a great read aloud and also a good food for thought for discussion with students. And finally, the last picture book that I want to talk about is Sophie Blackall's If You Come to Earth. And, you know, she won the Caldecott for Hello Lighthouse, and she illustrates Ivy and Bean. Her artwork is very distinctive. And this book is a child writing about to a creature from outer space and what they could expect to see if they came to Earth. And she said she wrote this because she's traveled around the world working with Save the Children, and she kind of wanted to do something that would encompass all these experiences she had around the world and all these children. And she sort of came up with this idea, and it shows how everybody's different, but we're all here on the earth together. I like this. It says, older people are good at telling stories about the world when they were young. Younger kids are good at making up stories that haven't happened yet. And she did say she met one kid who, because she's like, how could I have one child be the one asking all these questions? But she met one child who had grown up, I think maybe in Nigeria, and she asked him, what would you serve to somebody from outer space if they came to visit? And he said, mashed potatoes, because I don't know if they'll have teeth. So I thought that was very good advice. I'm going to just go over some graphic novels now that are for younger students. And the first one that I want to start with is Pizza and Taco. So Pizza and Taco, Best Party Ever by Stephen Sashkan is a graphic novel for the youngest of readers. So you can see it's pretty simple. What I think is interesting is you've got a real picture of pizza and a real picture of a taco that has been animated. And basically they want to have a party. They say they're going to go meet at the water park. They learn that the water park is closed. All these kinds of books for younger readers are very heavily into puns and funny things. Ice cream has a meltdown because he can't get in. Cheeseburger's here, and he's mad that they invited Hamburger because he said, don't you know Hamburger's lactose intolerant? So there's all sorts of things like that that we can appreciate, as well as kids that are just starting. Read this before they head on to Dog Man. Another book like that is PB&J, Stuck Together. As you could tell from P, a little round P, B honeybee, and Jay, a blue jay. This book is also rife with puns, and it's about a little pea who wants to go rolling around, and I believe a strawberry challenges him to roll farther than he ever can, and he gets lost, and B and J sort of help him find his way back. It is perfect for fans of narwhal and jellyfish, for emerging readers and comic book lovers. And like I said, there's just puns galore inside here. I'm trying to find one. Let's see. Grandpa comes after them, and then he has a crack, and he's like, I done broke my peahind. So it's sort of things like that that will make you cringe and your students love it. Along those lines, something that would be sort of similar to Dogman would be Dino Mighty. And I know that kids, if they like that, they're always looking for more that's in this age level. This is about Pterodactyl, Dave, T-Lex, and Bach, who I believe is a chicken. And they are Dino Mighty, and they have to set out on an adventure because the golden egglets have been stolen by some terrible villains. And so they go on this, and on this adventure, they save the golden egglets, which seem to be these treasure jewels, until they hatch. And then they have these monsters, and they realize that they weren't treasures that way. And now they have to deal with these little monsters that have hatched. And it's very, very silly. And I loved one of the reviews I read on this said that this book is rife with emanations. And I think that's the right word. And I had no idea what that was. And apparently in comic books, when you see like drops of sweat or lines that indicate motion or things like that, that's what an emanata is, I believe. And this book apparently has lots of them in there. And finally, there's one last graphic novel that I wanted to show you. And that is for Friends of Dogman. I don't know if you've seen Cat Kid Comic Club yet, but Dave Pilkey just amazes me with what he can do and what he thinks up. And this is like a class on how to write comic books in one book that is easily digestible by kids. You have Petey, you have Molly. I can't remember what this guy's name is, but they're going to teach a bunch of baby frogs how to make comics. And what I like is he shows all different formats, different ideas on how to get started. So in this where you have someone who has handwritten Dennis the Toothbrush who wanted to be a dinosaur lawyer, which came from brainstorming some different skills, believe it or not. We also have this one where there's claymation that you could use to make a comic. So it's just really brilliant the way he came up with this. There's a little bit more to it. And just in case you were wondering, Dogman Mothering Heights comes out March 23rd. And that's all of my books for younger readers. But I did want to tell you a little bit about the book fairs that we've done here at Children's Book World. Thanks for listening to me, because I know I'm speaking on and on and on. This year we did something different in the fall because of COVID. We couldn't get into schools. Schools couldn't bring books in. So we created an online book fair that was very successful for us. It had the diverse titles and different genres that you expect of us, winnowed down to maybe our top 50 books for a variety of different ages. And then students could order the books, and they could either have them, you could choose to have them picked up at the school or picked up at the store. And also they could be shipped to the home via the USPS for a flat rate of $5. And that worked out very well for us. And if you're interested in doing something like that for the spring, it's probably one of the easiest things you can do, because there's no work on your end except for promoting it. The more you promote this, the better chances you'll have. And that's what we found from people that did it with us this fall. The people that were excited and got the parents and children interested because the books weren't right in front of them, they sold lots of books. And we're just so happy to have kids get some new books in their hands. So that's it. If you want to learn more about that, you can write to bookfairs@childrensbookworld.com. And now I'm going to turn it back to Sally, and she's going to talk about older reader books.
Hi again. Even though I'm an elementary retiree, they let me read some of the older books, so that's good. I just have a few I want to talk about. The first one is City Spies. This is the first book. The second one, I think it just came out or it's just coming out. I loved this book. I got sucked in right away. It's about a girl who is in the foster care system, and she's about to get sentenced to many years in juvenile detention because she is a computer hacker and she has hacked a little too much. She sits down in the courtroom and there's a man there who's going to represent her. She finds out he's not really a lawyer and he's not even sure what his name is. He's changed his name. Anyway, he is a spy. This takes place in England. He is a spy for England, and he is really coming to rescue her because he needs her skill as a computer hacker. So he takes her along for an adventure. They go to Paris, and their job is to keep another school from winning a special competition. And there is danger, there's excitement. The pace is perfect. The characters are great. They're multicultural. They're from all different walks of life. And it's the kind of book that I think makes readers love reading. I really love this book. Okay. The Magic in Changing Your Stars. This is time travel. If you have students who love time travel, perfect. And this is, it's time travel back to Harlem, and now I'm going to forget when it was, the 1930s, I'm pretty sure. And it's about a little boy in the current time who loves to rap and he loves to dance, but when he gets in front of someone, he freezes completely. And he's telling his grandfather, and the grandfather says, same thing happened to me, and it changed my life. It just stopped my life. So anyway, the little boy ends up traveling back in time, and lo and behold, he meets his grandfather on the street as his grandfather is tap dancing for the neighbors. It turns out that this little boy changes all of their lives because of this time travel. Many of the characters in this book have names that you will recognize as famous people from Black history, in entertainment, different parts of pop culture. And in the back of the book is a book called The Black Excellence List. And you will find out about Alvin Ailey, Benjamin Banneker. Big person in this book is Bojangles Robinson. So this is great for starting a conversation about Black history, about Harlem, the Harlem Renaissance. A lot going on in this book, and it's a great adventure. So this is The List of Things That Will Not Change by Rebecca Stead. And I loved this book too. This is about a little girl named Bee. She is being faced with her parents' divorce, but it's an amicable divorce. Father has come out as gay. So you need to be sure this is a book that your kids are going to be comfortable with and that the parents are going to be comfortable with. Father is going to get married, and they're all like fine, upstanding people, and they all take care of each other. The title comes from the list that Bee's parents give to her about the things that will not change. For example, number 1, mom loves you more than anything, always. Number 2, dad loves you more than anything, always. And it goes on that way. She keeps this list with her, and you learn how she's got some trouble in school. She's got some trouble behaving. She's a quirky girl, but she gets through it. Her family is loving, supportive, and terrific story. What I'm going to talk about today is called Gone to the Woods, and it is Gary Paulsen writing about his own life. He writes about it in the third person. So in the story, he talks about the boy, but it is him. And his book Hatchet is one of the books that I love to recommend to middle grade readers. I think it's a fantastic book. I didn't know anything about Gary Paulsen. What an amazing life. He started life with a father who was in the Philippines in the army, mother who was here who really didn't take care of him. And what he went through, being moved from one family to another, finally going to the Philippines, his parents pretty much abandoned him, and just he hunted to feed himself. It's an amazing book, and somewhat graphic. I'd be afraid to give it to someone too young, but I loved every word in it. Fantastic writer. So thank you. And Lisa again, right?
So some of the books that I wanted to talk about for earlier or for older readers are actually on the younger end of the spectrum, sort of when you've just finished beginning chapter books or first chapter books, and then you move into these lovely little gems that we found. One of those books is, let me find my notes. The Very, Very Far North. This is in paperback. There is a sequel to it. It is about a little polar bear named Dwayne and his friends that he names. Is it Major Puff the Puffin, who is bossy, and Handsome the Muskox, who's a little vain, and then another character whose name is Boo. And it's just as sweet as this cover. It is gentle stories of friendship. It has lovely little illustrations. It is comforting. It is sweet without being treacly. And I've heard people describe it as a combination of The Wind in the Willows, Winnie the Pooh, and Frog and Toad. So this would make a delightful read aloud for younger students or for those that are just starting to read on their own and they're ready for chapter books. Another book that's not quite as sweet but is just as fun is Skunk and Badger by Amy Timberlake and illustrated by John Clausen. This is a very silly book, but about some serious issues, especially as we'll know being in COVID and being with other people. Badger is by himself and loves living in his brownstone, studying rocks and doing very solitary things. His aunt has decided it would be a good idea to let Skunk move in because Skunk doesn't have anywhere to go. And thus you get the odd couple mixed with Frog and Toad. And Badger doesn't really want to let Skunk in. There's something involved with chickens. It's just silly. And I think that kids will enjoy reading this, but this is another great read aloud to classes. And it looks like a classic already, and it's sure to become one. Another book on the young range is Bernard Pepperlin. Bernard Pepperlin reminds me a little bit of the Cricket in Times Square, just from the New York perspective, but this has to do with the Dormouse from Alice in Wonderland and how he's stuck in this timeless tea party and he wants to get out and do sort of like what that girl Alice did. And he ends up getting shoved into a teapot and he swims through it and he ends up in New York and he meets a whole cast of characters like cockroaches and rats. And of course, there is a dastardly plot by the Pork Pie Hat Gang, which are a bunch of evil weasels. And their plan is that they're going to stop time by presenting the first, last, and only endless ukulele concert. And there are free pickles. So with things like that, I think that you can't go wrong with another good read aloud or something for a younger reader to enjoy. We have a sort of a companion to Mr. Popper's Penguins called The Popper Penguin Rescue. This was written by Elliot Schreffer, who's written other books featuring natural environmental situations, more on the teen side, I think. But this is a great homage to Mr. Popper's Penguins. And it's basically how this town where the penguins were, they're riding on their old glories. There's not really anything going on. Furthermore, the town across the river is pretending that they were the town that had the penguins and had like penguin rides and all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, there's a girl and a boy that move with their mother into their like family's relations house, which happened to be where the original penguins were. And when they were cleaning in the basement, they find 2 penguin eggs. And this story is more about how they're going to get the penguins back to their natural habitat and has more environmental and contemporary concerns, but it's still very fun, very friendly. Again, another good read aloud or something for a younger reader to read by him or herself. I seem to have all the animal books and I'm the one who chose them. This book, Rubber, the Speedway Squirrel, is just simply silly. It's about a squirrel that wants to be a race car driver. And he doesn't want to do squirrel things. He doesn't care about getting the right nuts. He knows don't go near cars or they'll squish you flat. But what he really wants is what he can see from their family nest is a racetrack. And one day he escapes down there and makes it there and finds that it's a little more difficult to join the racing team than he thought, but eventually he gets taken on. And this is a great book for animal lovers, for people that love Roald Dahl, E.B. White, and what did I say? And of course it has some juvenile humor because one of his brother's name is Farty, and you can just see how that goes. There's all sorts of jokes inside here, and this is perfect for little kids who will enjoy reading this. Let me see what else I have in here. Oh, on the older side of the chapter book, so we are in older, but this is Pam Munoz Ryan's Manana Land, and I just wanted to remind you about it. You're probably already aware of this book, but it's a beautiful book written by her. It is a fantasy, but it has many real elements, and it's about a boy whose abuelo has told him stories about Manana Land, and he wants to go there because he doesn't know anything about his mother. And he thinks that if he goes on this journey, he will discover something. In the meantime, he learns from his father that there are these people that help people in trouble get cross-country lines. And so it's a poignant story about refugees and sort of the politics of it, but in a very digestible way that younger readers will comprehend and empathize with. And while I'm here, I'm just going to go over some of my older reader nonfiction books. The first is Ask a Scientist. This is written by Dr. Robert Winston. He, again, had children all around the world asking him questions. And so he wanted to put together a book that sort of combined them. It's one of those, tell me why books. And I think it would be great. You could use this, and anytime you had like 5 or 10 minutes in the classroom, you could open up and read a page, or kids that are fascinated by this sort of stuff, picking up little factoids would enjoy. How do you make gear spin? How do elevators work? Why do my muscles hurt when I exercise? And you can see there's a very simple explanation that you could read out loud in 5 minutes, but then you could jump off from that and it could have a life of its own. A book for slightly older readers, I would say more 9 to 14, is How Super Cool Tech Works. This is for the kid that loves technology. It has all the latest gadgets and gizmos. It talks about how fitness trackers work. It talks about nano cameras that you swallow to look inside the human body. Any kid that's fascinated by science and by this technology will love poring over this book. It's got great illustrations. It's very real, and yet it talks about things that don't seem like they're real. Another book that I like for sort of 9 to 14 is the Atlas Obscura Explorer's Guide. And this might be another one you're familiar with, but I just wanted to remind you about it. It has 100 of the world's wonders, natural and man-made, in 44 countries, every continent, and it sort of connects each one by, like, there's a cave in one place, so there's a cave in another place, and it goes through this way. I love the website Atlas Obscura and the email newsletter that they do. I love the book, and I'm so happy there's something for kids that are still excited about the natural world and want to learn things. And I really like that it challenges you and has different questions. I like this one. In Washington State, there's this tremendous tree, and it talks about how it grew up in a tree, and they think it's from the 50s. And the reason why I love it is, I don't know if anybody remembers, there's a Berkeley Breathed Christmas book called When Red Ranger Came Calling, and it's a story written specifically about this bicycle in this tree. And at the end, he had a real picture of it. And that always captivated me, especially because when I read it, it was before you could just digitally, adjust it. So Atlas Obscura, the world's most adventurous kids. And finally, 2 animal books, one for younger, one for older. We have Animal Antics. And what I love about this is it has gorgeous pictures of an animal. How do I show this? Gorgeous pictures. And then facts up here. So there's like one big fact that you can get out of it. So kids that are older will enjoy reading this on their own, but younger kids will enjoy reading it too. I thought this was fascinating. When you gotta go. In the forests of Borneo in Southeast Asia, a pitcher plant makes the perfect outhouse for a tree shrew. Pitcher plants are carnivorous plants with pitchers that grow from the end of their leaves. Each pitcher contains liquid to drown insects whose bodies feed the plant, but the tree shrew also plays a part. As it eats the plant's nectar, it uses the pitcher as a toilet, and its poop provides vital nutrients for the plant. So, I mean, kids are going to love this, and they're going to giggle, and they're going to want to go home and tell their parents about it, and great pictures. And then for the slightly older student, It Can't Be True Animals is filled with statistics, with infographics, just impossible. Like this front cover, if you can see, this is the world's tiniest dog, and this is the world's largest dog. And it talks about, well, this one was very odd. Eagles frequently steal prey from other hunters in an act known as kleptoparasitism or piracy. And it shows a picture of an eagle grabbing a rabbit that a fox is still holding on to. So I don't know, I was just fascinated by that one. But you also then have How Do Whales Sleep, trying to find something that has more of the infographics. Let's see, what animal is the loudest? So again, it's just one of those, I wonder why. Here's lots of little facts that kids love and they can pick up in their spare time. And it's just super fun. It Can't Be True Animals. So those are all the books that I wanted to talk about tonight for younger and older readers. And now I'm going to welcome back Heather, and she's going to talk about some more great books for older readers.
Hey, I'm back. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up because we're getting close to that really scary, like virtual threshold where everybody's going to start zoning out. But before I finish with my books, I just want to first, we talk about this a lot at the store, and I just want to say just a huge thank you to you teachers out there. We know how hard you're working. We know how hard this is. Just trying to get it in the right frame took us like hours of practice, and trying to decipher like what a kid is saying that I can't even imagine. You are our heroes, and we miss you, and we so appreciate all the work that you are having to put in during these really tough times. And now I'm just going to finish up with a couple of my favorite graphic novels and chapter books. There are a bunch of great graphic novels out. And for those of you, just really quickly, the I Survive series is starting to come in graphic novel form. There is a new Nathan Hale Hazardous Tales. And you can see all of these on the link we sent you. I love this book, Twins. This is about twins who are starting middle school. And Maureen is very quiet. She's an introvert. And Francine, her sister, is a big extrovert. And it's sort of how they go about sort of attacking middle school in different ways. And the one thing that happens that sort of brings them back together, maybe not in the best way, is they both decide to run for student council against each other. So it's a really fun book. It's the first in a series, and I'm excited about that. Becoming Brianna, I just absolutely loved. It was incredibly relatable to me. It is about a girl who's getting ready for her bat mitzvah, and she does not like to talk in front of people, and especially not sing in a foreign language in front of people, which I know it doesn't seem that way, but that's because you're my friends. But like, I'd want to like throw up. I hate talking in front of people so much. But so I could completely relate. And then of course the idea that she would then have to go to a party and dance and everybody would be watching her is just like terrifying. And it's how she deals with it. And it's funny. It's very real. It's heartwarming. Even if you're not having a bat mitzvah, I mean, we all know that we all have been in those situations where we did not want to be in the spotlight, and how you sort of deal with it. So that is Becoming Brianna. Victoria Jameson, who did Roller Girl and All's Fair in middle school, has done When Stars Are Scattered. This is a very different type of graphic novel. Victoria wrote this with Omar Muhammad, and it is actually his story. It is the true story of when he and his brother, their village was raided. They lived in Somalia, and their father was killed and their mother disappeared, and they were left to walk until they found a refugee camp in Kenya that would take them in. Now, Omar, who was older, Omar's younger brother, Hassan, had seizures and was not able to talk and was very sort of low functioning. And they had no parents. And they lived in this refugee camp for, I think it's almost 10 years. And it is an amazing story of sort of the bonds and the families that they created and the people that they met. Spoiler, they do leave and come to America. And at the back, there are actual pictures of both Omar and his younger brother, and the families they have now. And it's a remarkable story. You're not going to want to put it down. It is absolutely incredible. So that is When Stars Are Scattered. There are a couple of nonfiction books that I love too for older kids. DK, which I think always does like the best kind of informational books, has done one all on myths and legends. And what I love about it is it has, in true DK style, like actual artifacts and paintings and sculptures that tell all of the myths from all over the entire world. There is also, this is a crazy book. It's called Head to Head Natural Disasters. And yes, it's one natural disaster versus another. It is a flip book, which I'm never sure how great they are for libraries. I think maybe in the classroom you could get away with it. But basically, there are different disasters, and they rate them on things like casualties, the intensity of the disaster, the range of the impact, the damage it created. And then when you flip it up, it gives you a lot more information. And there are real scientific ways where they have rated these, and there's a whole code in the beginning to tell you what everything means. And we all go, oh, that's just so terrible. And yet we can't. I read this like maybe twice. I was fascinated by everything. It's called Head to Head Natural Disasters. Retake is a book that is coming out in 2 weeks now, I think, by Jen Calamita. I think this book will be very relatable for a lot of your students. It is about a girl who she gets in trouble for bringing her phone to school. Her phone gets taken away from her, which is a bummer, but not the biggest bummer, because the biggest bummer is she and her best friend have had a big falling out. Her best friend has basically moved on with the sort of more popular crowd, and she's sort of left behind. And so first day of school is really awful. And at the end of the day, when she gets her phone back, she notices that there's a new app on it. It's really weird. It's like a glowing hot pink app. And she gets home that night and she keeps looking and she can't figure out what it does. And it turns out she finds out that basically she can select a picture from her photos gallery. And when she clicks on it, she goes back in time to that picture. So she gets a chance to rework what happened and retake that picture. And of course, she tries to use this to fix whatever she thinks was wrong between she and her best friend. And obviously, every time she goes back, things get worse, other things happen. It never really works out the way she wants it to, but she's able to sort of see why things were happening the way they are. She's also able to see some things involving other relationships, particularly the one with her big sister, that she didn't realize was going on. So it's interesting. And I think all of us would kind of like to retake some instances in our life sometime. So that was a fun one. Amari and the Night Brothers is great for all of your fantasy kids. This is kind of a combination of, if you took like Men in Black and you sort of matched it up with Percy Jackson, because it's about a young girl whose older brother goes missing and they're not sure what has happened to him. He was brilliant and he had this amazing job, and now all of a sudden they can't find him. And she gets sort of contacted by him and taken to a special place where she finds out he was part of this super secret agency that deals with supernatural life that is on our planet and basically walks around with us. And she is going to go to a summer camp every summer to learn how to become part of this supernatural secret society. So it is really, really fun. And that is Amari and the Night Brothers. Also super fun in kind of a Home Alone kind of way is Millionaires for the Month. This is the story of Felix and Benji. They are on a trip to New York City, and they find a wallet that belongs to her name is like Lauren Friend, and she is like the biggest YouTube influencer, and she's like a multi-billionaire. And they go to return the wallet to her, and she actually shows up to get the wallet back from them. But what has happened is Benji has taken $20 out of the wallet. And when she finds this out, she's a little annoyed, and she decides she's going to teach them a lesson. So she makes them an offer. She says, you can have $20,000 towards a college fund, or I'll give you $5 million each if you can manage to spend it in 1 month. She's like, but there are some rules. You can't give any of the money away. You can't invest any of the money. And you can't let anybody know. So, of course, what unfolds is this insane, crazy, just gluttonous spending spree. Like, you can't imagine. Poor Felix and Benji's parents have no idea what's going on. They can't tell them. It is a riot. You will just be laughing and like flipping through the pages. And of course, in the end, they learn that there's things in life more valuable than money. So there is a lovely little wrap up in the end, but it's just a super fun book. And that is Millionaires for the Month. Completely different. A Ceiling Made of Eggshells, which is Gail Carson Levine's newest book. She wrote Ella Enchanted, or my favorite book of hers was called Fairest. So if you haven't read that, you should totally check that out. A Ceiling Made of Eggshells is historical fiction. It takes place in Spain right at the start of the Spanish Inquisition. And it is about a young girl named Paloma. She is Jewish. She lives in the Jewish end of Spain, and she lives with her family, and her grandfather, who is who's brilliant, is sought after by Ferdinand and Isabella quite frequently as their counsel. And the grandfather has realized that Paloma, they call her Loma, has his intelligence, and he decides that he wants to take her with him on these trips to meet the king and queen of Spain, which was very unusual back in that day because she's just about 13 or 14 years old and she's a girl. But he takes her with her, and she sort of becomes his confidant, and she sees what is happening, and that so many of these trips that he's going on are really basically to save the Jewish people, who are at this point being threatened left and right. They're being tortured, they're being kidnapped. It is not good. And she is learning about this, and she's learning about what her grandfather is doing to try to help them. And at one point, they are given the choice whether to convert or not. And they have big decisions to make. One of the things that comes up, though, that I was like, whoa, I just sort of didn't know, was like, so she is also grateful that she's getting the opportunity to go with her grandfather, but also she's really ready to marry at 14 because she wants to raise a family. And all I could think of was my 14-year-old son being married. And I was like, oh my gosh, totally different time period, obviously. But I was like, wow. But it is just, it's a wonderful story. And Gail Carson Levine is a masterful writer. 2 more books I'm going to tell you about. 1,000 Questions. I haven't finished this book, and I love being here with you guys, but I cannot wait to go home and read the last 3 chapters of this book because it's so good. But basically, it is the story about a young girl named Mimi. She is, her mother is from Pakistan, and her father is from Texas. And they are going, she's 12, and she's going with her mother. Her parents are not together. She's going with her mother to Pakistan for the first time. And she gets there and she finds out that her grandparents are like gazillionaires. They have this like ginormous mansion in Pakistan with all of these servants. And there's a young servant there who is her age, named Sakina. And at first, they're not exactly sure how to get along. There's a language barrier, but it turns out that Sakina is in desperate need of someone to teach her English so she can pass her exams and go to school. And as much as she looks at Mimi as this spoiled American brat, she needs her help. And the friendship that these girls are building is, it feels so real when you read it. And you know, Mimi is so eager and Sakina is not as eager. And it's, the push and pull is so much fun to read. And the chapters go back and forth. And it's just been really delightful to read so far. And the last book I am going to end with is, this is definitely my favorite book of this season for sure. And I am so mad at this pandemic, because if it wasn't for that, you all would be here tonight and I would tell you to read it and we could have a book club and then we'd all be able to get together and talk about it, because I must talk to somebody about this book. So this is The Mysterious Disappearance of Aiden S. as told to his brother. And it is everything you want in a middle grade book. It is Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe meets When You Reach Me. It is Mix Up Files and Mrs. Baz Frank Roller. It is just so good. It is about a boy who has disappeared. And he has been gone for 6 days. It is told by his brother and his parents and the whole entire town have been worried sick about him. And all of a sudden, boom, he shows up in their attic on the 6th day. The brother finds him. He has fallen out of basically this dresser, and he says he was basically in another land. And you don't know if he's telling the truth or not. And even as you get farther and farther into the book, you believe him, and then you're not sure. But then you believe him, but then you're not sure. And it's just, I mean, so you need to read this because we need to talk about it because it's so good. Anyway, so those are the books that we have for you this evening. I do want to make a quick reminder for those people who are still interested in author visits. Publishers are still touring authors virtually. So hit us up, say, yeah, I want those, freebie author visits. We will get you an author. They're anxious to get to people. I've sat in on some of those Zoom calls and they really are. They're more fun than I thought a kind of Skyped author visit was going to be, actually. They're actually pretty fun. So do give us a call, and please, anything we can do to help you all. We know how hard this has been, and we want to be there for you for whatever you need. So thank you all so much for joining us, and everybody stay safe and warm and have a good evening. Bye-bye.